The world's animals are in big trouble. Many could be extinct in the next 20 years. Join me, Lyndall Davies, as we answer their call for help and throw out a $10,000 lifeline. We're headed for Thailand, to Phetchaburi, south of Bangkok. It's the sun bears that need our help. We'll be rescuing them from the illegal wildlife trade and giving them a much better life.
Hi, I'm Lyndall Davies, and I'm in Ranong, which is a fishing port in southern Thailand. Now, taking a look around me, well, this is the last place you'd expect to see a wild bear living. But I've got someone I want you to meet. This here is Ompoom. And for the past 5 years, this tiny cage has been his home. Now, Ompoom is a sun bear, but living in this noisy warehouse, well, there's no chance he'll ever see the sun. But the good news is, things are going to change. If everything goes according to plan, we hope to get Ompoom out of here and take him to a new home, where he'll have grass to walk on, trees to climb, and where he'll be able to bask in the sunlight. It's going to be wonderful to see. And it's all thanks to our lifeline money.
"12 weeks ago, we sent out $10,000 to the Wildlife Friends of Thailand Rescue Centre just outside Bangkok. It's a really special place. Every animal here has been saved from the illegal wildlife trade. They can't go back to the wild because at the moment there's nowhere suitable to do that. But they can be given a much better life. Edwin Week runs the centre, and he knew exactly what to spend our lifeline money on: a new sun bear enclosure. Work is well underway on this very special home. There's room to run about, tunnels to explore, and things to climb. That's what the centre is all about, making the lives of captive animals as happy as possible. Gibbons that were once kept in tiny cages can now swing through the trees. Elephants used to entertain people on the city streets can roam the jungle. And monkeys that spent their lives chained up alone now live in groups and can play together. There's already one bear enclosure, home to 5 sun bears. They're named after the yellow crescent on their chest. As babies, sun bears are tiny and incredibly cute. That's when people buy them. The trouble starts when they grow up. Just look at those razor-sharp claws. They can be deadly weapons. Then there's those teeth. A sun bear's canines are the longest of all the bears. By 18 months old, they're impossible to handle. Their owners cage them up, and that's where they stay for the rest of their lives. This enclosure is now full. If Edwin is to save more bears, he needs somewhere to put them. That's where our lifeline money comes in. The new enclosure is almost finished. I'd only just arrived at the rescue centre, and Edwin and I were on our first mission: to rescue Ompoom, the bear at the fish market. Ranong is a busy port on the Thailand-Burma border. Day and night, these docks are a hive of activity as boats unload and the catch is sorted. It's no place for a wild animal to live. This is the 3rd time Edwin's been here. The owner has a licence to keep Ompoom, so we can't confiscate him. We have to convince her to give her pet up. Edwin is showing her pictures of the new enclosure. It really would be a much better place for Ompoom to live.
Look at the conditions. Tiny little cage. Just a little bucket of water to keep him cool. And so much noise. The traffic, the sounds of the fish market.
At least he's being well fed. Every morning he starts the day with a cup of tea. Then a constant supply of treats follow. No wonder he's so fat. He clocks in at around 120 kilos. That's 180 pounds, making him half a sun bear too heavy. And look at this. Another bear living in an even smaller cage. His name is Apec and he's only 2 years old. Both bears would have been stolen from their mother's nest just weeks after they were born. Their owner bought them at a local market. She thinks she's doing her best for them, but they must be so bored.
You see an animal like this and your instant reaction is you just want to get them out of there. But that's the worst thing we could do. This could take weeks of negotiation, but you want to send the right message out there. You want to basically try and educate the people that there are better ways to be looking after animals than this.
On the bright side, it looks like Edwin's persistence is paying off.
Okay, that's great news. It looks like they're going to give up the sun bears, which is a better result than any of us could have expected. The lady says she's been trying to find a better home for them for some time now. People have promised things, but they haven't delivered. So what she wants to do first is come and check out our bear enclosure. And I'm sure she won't be disappointed.
This is fantastic. So far, everything's going to plan. On our way back to the centre, we get a rescue that's just been called in. We're visiting a private house, home to 4 people and 1 gibbon. We've been told the owner wants to give up his pet.
Okay.
Hey, sweetie.
At first glance, the gibbon appears to be in terrible condition. Her coat should be long and thick, but she's so bored she's been pulling her hair out.
สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีครับ มีนานหรือยังครับ
Edwin is asking the owner how long he's had her.
20 ปีแล้ว 20 years.
20 years.
Her name is Chum Chim, and it looks like she's also got a broken leg, an old injury.
The owner was just saying that she came in as a baby with that injury. So what's probably happened is the mother was shot in a tree, they've both come plunging towards the ground, and the baby suffered that injury.
Like sun bears, young gibbons are popular as pets. But once they reach adolescence, the hormones kick in and they become uncontrollable, with fangs 4 centimetres, 2 inches long. Nom is the rescue centre's head keeper. He's an expert animal handler, but he needs to be careful. If Chum Chim turns on him, he could get a nasty bite. You can see what I mean about those fangs.
Oh, it's okay. It really just breaks your heart to see an animal get so upset, but at least we can take some consolation in knowing that we're actually taking it to the start of a better life.
After years of looking at the same view, this must be overloading Chum Chim's senses. There are so many new sights to take in. We're putting her straight into quarantine. You never know what diseases the animal might be carrying. Once she passes her health checks, this is where she'll be going. One of the centre's specially built gibbon islands. It's so much better than where she came from. If we're going to rescue the bears from the fish market, we have to be ready to move as soon as we get the green light. That means their new enclosure needs to be ready. Luckily, we have an army of volunteers helping. The centre couldn't function without them. They pay a small fee for their work experience, and that money goes to care for the animals.
Our sun bear enclosure is really starting to take shape. Everything here has been carefully thought out. These concrete rings, they're to protect the trees, stop the bears climbing up into the branches and eating the leaves, because that would take away the shade. But the best thing about it is it means the fruit in these trees can ripen, and they're mangoes. So when they fall to the ground, it's going to be a real treat for the sun bears.
It's not just the big bears that need somewhere to live. The centre is also caring for 3 little ones, and when they grow up, they'll also be moving into our new enclosure.
Even at mealtime, it's all about keeping the bears active. So what we're doing is we're just popping their food in hard to reach places, and that means they've got to actually climb for it.
I'm with Amy Corrigan. She's a zoologist from England and is foster mum to the young bears. Bears are a lot like people. If they enjoy something, they can't help making a noise about it. And just like us, if they've got a favourite food, it's the first thing they go for. They really are adorable. You can see why they're so popular as pets. These photos show just how tiny the bears were when they were rescued. Pinder was saved from a market where traders were trying to sell him for $500. While Pepper was rescued from a hotel, tourists were paying to have their photo taken with him.
He's just sucking on my arm there. It's a comfort thing. I mean, he's still just a little baby. Oh, you miss your mum, don't you? You can really see the trauma that taking an animal from the wild, a cub like this, inflicts on the animal. Oh, sweetie.
Then there's Bouncer, the Asiatic black bear. He's got a bigger rump and a pointier face than the sun bears. He's also incredibly shy, and I can understand why. This is what Bouncer looked like just 6 weeks ago. When he arrived at the centre, he had a badly infected leg. It had been caught in a trap, and the vet had to amputate. Luckily, bears are very strong animals, and Bouncer's made an incredible recovery. He might only have 3 legs, but that doesn't stop him getting around.
Come on, guys.
It's time for a run in the jungle. In the wild, their mother would lead the cubs out of the nest and into the forest. She's not here, so we're the next best thing. This is the favourite part of the day for Pepper and Pinder. They can't wait to get into the trees. Sun bears love being high up, and they're amazing climbers, thanks to those curved claws.
Down you come. If this one gets up to the top, no, there's no way. No, don't bite. There's no way we're going to get it down again. Wow. But what you can really see is, they really do have their own personalities. And Pepper in particular, wow, is really stubborn, aren't you? Hey?
Both bears are already hard to control. You can see just how quickly they grow out of that cute and cuddly stage. Those teeth and claws can cause serious damage.
Just take a look at how deep those scratch marks are. Now that just shows how sharp the claws are. And they're from little Pepper. He's just 6 months old.
Pepper and Pinder love their time in the jungle. Sunbears are incredibly inquisitive and they're always looking for new things to do. It makes you realise how frustrating it must be for a bear to spend its life in a tiny cage. When Edwin left Holland 16 years ago to start a textile company in Thailand, he never pictured himself keeping this sort of company. 9 years after creating a successful business, Edwin threw it all in to set up the rescue centre and help animals like Meow. He's a fully grown tiger. Edwin found him tied up at the back of a garage. He was starving and this caused permanent damage to his nervous system. That's why he can't walk properly. Edwin is giving him his physio. It's dangerous work, but Meow seems to understand that Edwin is trying to help him. Meow is one of the lucky ones. Others are not so fortunate, as I'm about to find out. If people want to buy a wild animal, this is where they come. The Bangkok weekend markets. So as not to draw attention to ourselves, the cameraman and I went alone using a small home video camera. It wasn't long before I came across a stall that sold squirrels. While some of them are legally bred for the pet trade, it's often easier and cheaper to take them from the wild. We were frequently ordered to stop filming, a sure sign that the shops were selling something illegal. Bangkok has become the global centre for the animal smuggling trade. Anything can be bought for a price, and I was told I could easily order a baby bear. All across the city, animals are suffering. Monkeys forced to perform. Orangutans posing for photos. And zoos where animals like these sunbears are housed in appalling conditions. At least the rescue centre offers these animals some hope. This little gibbon is one of the lucky ones. He's been saved from the pet trade.
The younger the animal, the more attention it needs, just like a human baby. And little Jack here, he's being a bit shy, aren't you? He's just 6 months old, and at that age, come on, he'd still be clinging to his mother, there you go, and feeding on milk. But like with so many animals in Thailand, this little guy, he was taken from his mother when he was just 4 weeks old. Now to do that, the hunters would have had to kill the whole family, up to 5 gibbons. Jack's mother, she would have been shot from the tree, fallen down with Jack clinging to her. Luckily he survived. He would have then been ripped from her body, put in a tiny cage and taken to market. Now just imagine how traumatic that would have been for this little animal. Come on.
Jack now has a teddy to cling to. It's a poor substitute for his mum.
Aww. Jack was actually rescued after a tourist who saw him in the marketplace took pity on him and bought him. Now, while that tourist thought they were doing the right thing, it's actually the worst thing you could have done, because once money changes hands, it just gives the hunter more incentive to go out there and get another baby, and that means killing another family of up to 5 animals.
It's such a waste, and all because someone wanted this little guy for a pet. I'm about to see firsthand what the rescue centre is all about. We're moving one of the gibbons out of quarantine and into her new home.
Today is the start of a new life for this gibbon. Her name's Nin, and for the past 15 years, she's been kept in a tiny cage. She's never swung through the trees, but today that's all about to change. Nin is moving into her new home, and there's going to be plenty of room to move about. And I can tell you, it's going to be just wonderful when we see her swinging through the trees.
Most of the gibbons at the centre live on their own private island. They can't swim, so the water makes for a great natural barrier. But the best thing about the islands is there's no contact with people. At mealtime, the food is hoisted up from the water in baskets. That means the gibbons can feed in the treetops, just like they would in the wild. All of the islands are decked out with plenty of rope as well, so the gibbons can get lots of exercise. Walking upright on their feet is natural behaviour in the wild. Edwin hopes to release all of the gibbons back to the jungle one day, so each gibbon is paired up with a mate. Although Nin will have to go it alone until a suitable male is rescued. It seems incredible, but Nin takes to the trees immediately. During her time in quarantine, she's been building up her muscles, and she isn't having any trouble swinging around.
Isn't that just wonderful? She's checking out her new home, meeting the neighbours. That's really going to be one of the perks of the job, Edwin.
Fantastic. Every time you take an animal out of the cage, you put it in there, in the wild or back on an island or anything, even in the trees, in an open space. That's what you do it for. Yeah, that's great.
We'll leave Nin to settle in. It's time to rescue those bears. I'm back in Ranong, home of those 2 sun bears we hope to rescue. We're here because of some fantastic news. Ompoom and Apec's owner has decided she doesn't need to see the new enclosure. She's happy just to let them go. And this could be the reason why. Ompoom's cage is rusting and he's starting to break out. We've decided to do the rescue later tonight. The market will be quieter and it'll be less stressful for the bears. That means I've got time for some undercover work. I'm on my way to Burma. Burma's a dangerous country, so we'll be posing as tourists again and using the home video camera.
I'm on one of the major smuggling routes out of Thailand. Now, I've just left the mainland behind me, over there, and up ahead is Burma. And what I want to do here is show you just how easy it is to smuggle animals and wildlife products out of the country. I've got my black bag here. I've been through customs, although it's hard finding out what customs was. Nobody stopped to check anything. Who knows what could be in there? I don't know what's going to happen up ahead. We'll have to wait and see.
Animals from Malaysia, Vietnam and Indonesia are smuggled up through Thailand and Burma. Most are on their way to China, the biggest consumer of wildlife products in the world.
Thousands of boats just like that one cross at this point all day long. They could be carrying anything. Animal parts, wildlife, who knows? But there's not much in the way stopping them or checking those boats.
Chances are, some of them are carrying bears. Bears are big business in Asia. They're highly sought after for traditional Chinese medicine. Thousands are farmed for their bile kept in small cages with a steel tube inserted into their gallbladder. It's an incredibly cruel thing to do. Bears are also considered a delicacy. In a restaurant, a whole bear can fetch up to $10,000. 45 minutes later, I was in Burma.
Okay, well, I've got through 2 customs points. Nobody's bothered to stop and check what's in my bag, so if I was a smuggler, the next step would be to get rid of the goods. In this case, let's take a look at what I've got inside. Okay, so it's only a teddy bear, but all too often, they're real wildlife products that are coming in here.
It just goes to show how easy it is to get animals out of Thailand.
This is what Edwin's been working so hard towards. We're back at the fish market and it looks like we're going to be getting Ompoom and Apec out of here. Now we've waited till night time because that's when the fish market's quietest. It's also hoped that the darkness will keep the bears calm on their long journey back to the sanctuary.
It's only been 2 weeks since we were last here, and every day I've thought about these bears. Kept in cramped cages, surrounded by noise and never feeling the warmth of the sun. As of tonight, that's set to change. And it's not just the bears we're saving. People have heard about the rescue and they're bringing in their pets. This man wants us to take his macaque.
We're certainly getting a lot more than we bargained for here. We've also got a baby gibbon that this lady's just given up.
It's a little girl. She's about the same age as Jack, the gibbon back at the centre, and she'll make a perfect playmate for him. But for now, it's time to get on with the bear rescue. We're not taking any chances. The bears will have to be sedated. We start with Apec, the smallest of the 2 bears.
Should be about a minute, 2 minutes, and Apec, he'll be down and we'll be able to get him out of here.
Sedatives are powerful drugs, so we try and use the smallest dose possible. You can always give the animal a top-up if necessary. At the moment, it looks as if we've got it just right.
He's going down, Edwin, he's just about down.
We've brought a large team from the centre to help lift the bears onto the trucks. But before we know it, the owner has entered the cage and is lifting Apec out. We've had no time to check if he's properly sedated. That means he could spark up at any time.
I don't like this at all. No.
Until he's in a cage again, we've got a dangerous situation on our hands.
Not my own guys there.
Okay, that wasn't the most ideal way to get that bear down, but the lady insisted on doing it herself. So before we could actually get in there and stop her, it was already on its way down.
1 in, 1 to go. But by the time we turn around, the owner's opened Ompoom's door as well. She's treating him just like a pet, but he's still a wild animal and could easily turn on her. Ompoom's not happy.
So you're the bad guy now?
Yeah, that's why I'm staying here now.
Yeah.
It's associating me definitely with pain now, so I better stay away. Otherwise he doesn't come down. If he's falling asleep right there, I'm fine with it. But I don't want him to go all the way up because we're having hell to get him down again then.
Yeah.
The owner's also worried Ompoom might climb higher. She's getting her workers to make a cushion for him in case he falls. She means well, but there's no way they should be in there.
What the lady's doing here is incredibly dangerous. This is a fully grown sun bear, big teeth, massive claws. But it's her animal. She sees it as her pet, and there's absolutely nothing we can do to stop her. She's just not listening to us.
The fact is, we've already got a plan to get Ompoom down. Edwin is climbing up to secure a harness around his body. Remember, we're talking a lot of bear, and this is the only way we're going to get him safely to the ground.
Okay. Let it go, let him go.
It's not the most dignified exit, but at least Ompoom will soon be in a much better place.
That's Ompoom done, so we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Well done. Okay, we've got a 5 to 6 hour drive ahead of us. We're going to be stopping every hour to check on the bears. We're going to have a really long night for everybody, but it's worth it. We've got those bears out of there. Well, we finally got our bears safe and sound to the rescue centre. And I'm just checking to see how Ompoom's doing. And he looks good. We didn't want to film them last night because they were pretty stressed, and we were worried that the lights from the camera would just stress them out even more. Overall, I think we've done a pretty good job getting them here. It'd be great to release the bears into their enclosure straight away, but we can't do that because they have to spend a period in quarantine. You never know what diseases they might have picked up from their time at the fish market, all those people going past, so it's better to be safe than sorry.
Ompoom really is a roly-poly bear. The first thing we need to do is put him on a diet. Get him off the sweet treats he's used to and onto things he'd be more likely to eat in the wild: fruit and vegetables.
Now, let's see how Apec's doing. Hello. Oh, he looks good. Like Ompoom, he's also been put in quarantine. Last night, Edwin noticed that he had a little bit of a skin complaint, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that and see how that goes. You know, Apec might still be in a cage, but even this cage is so much better than where he was being held before in that tiny little box. It's got room to move, and he looks like he's really enjoying himself.
Both bears will be in quarantine until they pass their health checks. The macaque we rescued has also recovered well from the long trip. The first thing Edwin needs to do is wash it. Monkeys carry all sorts of parasites, and this will help get rid of them. As for our baby gibbon, well, we're introducing her to Jack. We'll soon see how they get along. She's very quiet at the moment, but that's what you'd expect. We're hoping Jack will help bring her out of her shell. While we've been rescuing the bears, the new enclosure has come along fast. We're calling Pepper and Pinder in to put it to the test. Just like a couple of kids, they head straight for the climbing frame. And they don't need any help. With those sharp nails, little sun bears are perfectly adapted for clambering about the trees in search of food.
this scratching and biting of the wood up there, well, that's typical bear behaviour. That's exactly what they'd be doing in the wild, trying to get to insects which they can then eat. So it's great to see these little guys doing that.
Little Pepper has got himself into trouble. If you hang upside down when climbing, it's hard to get back on top.
This is what it's all about, learning about what he can and can't get away with while he's climbing. It's a good lesson.
This enclosure has everything the bears need to be happy. And with luck, this won't be Pepper and Pinder's last visit. Once they're about 2 years old, we're planning to put them back in here with Ompoom and Apec. There's plenty of room for at least 8 bears. But this visit is just about over.
Just like any youngsters, they love destroying things. So I think the best thing we can do is get these guys out of here before there's nothing left of the enclosure for Ompoom and Apec. Come on, you. No. That's it. Let's go. Whoa. Oh. Wow, that's absolutely spectacular. This is Kangkachan, Thailand's biggest national park. And I've come up here early this morning for 2 reasons. The first is to see that amazing sea of fog, which I've been told about. And the second reason is to try and catch a glimpse of some of Thailand's wonderful wildlife. First thing in the morning, that's when the animals are most active.
It would be great if we could release our sun bears here, but at the moment that's not possible. Poaching is a major problem, even in the national park. There are still a few bears left here, and this would have to be one of their favourite spots. Bears love honey. The bees have sensed I'm near and are creating a wave effect with their wings. This makes the nest look bigger and more dangerous and hopefully deters a hungry sun bear. There's a campsite nearby and I'm keen to get there. I've heard that every morning a troop of monkeys comes in to feed. Just look at them all. These are stump-tailed macaques. This is the full family unit, up to 50 animals, from mothers with tiny babies to grandparents with stories to tell. Taking a baby from the wild for the pet trade deprives it of the many lessons it will learn from the family group. Something as simple as grooming is a vital part of a monkey's life. Then there's foraging, the key to a monkey's survival. Playtime is also important for any youngster. When you see animals in the wild, it brings home to you just how boring life in a cage must be. Keeping the animals active and stimulated is the #1 priority at the rescue centre. And Chum Chim, our gibbon with the broken leg, is getting some fancy furniture. These ropes and the climbing frame should encourage Chum Chim to stay off the ground, taking the weight off her broken leg.
Yes, that's lovely. Hey girl, hey. Look, she's calling out. Oh, that's lovely. That's just what we wanted to see. That's the first time I've heard her do that.
Sometimes the simplest things are the most fun. In the scorching heat of Thailand, a shower is a real treat for the sun bears. Just look at how active these bears are. That means they're healthy and happy. great to know that it won't be long before Ompoom and Apec are also leading a much better life. This is their last day in quarantine. They've passed their health checks and tomorrow we're releasing them into the new enclosure.
Well, today's the big day. We're releasing the first of our sun bears, Ompoom, into the new enclosure. It's finally finished. Have a look. We've got a beautiful lake there. Lots of green grass for him to walk on. Little trees, great big trees for shade. There's a nice digging dirt area over there. Sun bears love to dig. Trees to climb on. And there's even a little mountain for him to climb up on and have a sleep. It's going to be wonderful.
We're letting Ompoom out first so he has a chance to settle down before Apec arrives. Putting some fruit out will encourage him to explore his new home. All right, let's do it.
Here he comes. He's taking it very slowly.
I wonder what's going through Ompoom's mind. He's probably frightened seeing all the space in front of him. True to form, the first thing he discovers is something to eat.
He's not getting off the concrete. He stays on the concrete there, you see.
That's what he knows.
Well, that's what he's used to, and he's going for the grass. Very, very careful.
Look at him. He's really basking in the sunlight. Oh, that's wonderful. That really would be the first time that he's had the sun's rays on his back since he was a baby.
It's an emotional moment for everybody involved in the rescue.
Oh, there goes the grass.
I think the volunteers are going to hate it for this.
It looks like he's making himself a bit of a path. Remember, he's never felt grass under his feet before. He's much more used to concrete.
He never would have dug before, would he?
Well, it's been 5 years in a cement enclosure.
And he was a baby when he came in.
So, no, this is probably the first time ever he's digging.
It's just instinctive in them, isn't it? He's having a ball.
Fortunately, the resident horse arrives. Bears are inquisitive animals, and Ompoom goes straight to investigate. He's standing up to show how tall he is and frighten the horse. The only thing is, he's smaller. Time to make a quick retreat. With Ompoom happily exploring, we've got a surprise for him.
Now, it's Apec's turn to check out the new enclosure. And trust me, he's raring to go. And the sooner we can get him in there with Ompoom, the better.
Even though they were kept in separate cages, Apec and Ompoom know each other well, so there shouldn't be any problems. If there was an argument, Apec is so much fitter and faster than Ompoom, he could always get away from him.
Okay, here we go. Come on, Apec. And he's straight out. I knew he'd take off.
Isn't that wonderful? Apec hasn't been able to run around for over 2 years. And that's the first time Ompoom and Apec have seen each other without bars in the way. The bears in the other enclosure can smell the new arrivals, and they're fascinated. Just like any youngster, Apec wears himself out in minutes. But Ompoom just can't stop pottering about. This pool must look like an ocean compared to the water barrel he had at the fish market. We'll leave our bears to settle in. With our enclosure up and running, Edwin is on the lookout for more bears to rescue. We're on our way to see 3 sun bears handed into a temple. The monks are doing their best to care for them, but want to find them a better home. While Edwin goes to show the abbot pictures of the new enclosure, I head off to see the bears. I find exactly what I expected, a concrete pit and some very frustrated animals.
This really isn't any life for a bear. It's a barren enclosure. There's no enrichments, nowhere for them to swim, nothing to climb on. It's just boredom, boredom, boredom every day.
This combination of boredom and confined conditions can be dangerous. The weaker bear's got nowhere to run. All he can do is show he's frightened and hope the bigger bear backs off. This time it works. Edwin returns with good news. The abbot liked our new enclosure. If the rest of the monks agree, he'll give the bears up, provided Edwin takes the rest of the animals that have been handed in. 6 monkeys and a porcupine.
Do you ever feel like you're always up against it? You can save one animal, but then another 7 here, turn up.
It never stops. As long as people take wild animals as pets, they end up at places like this, and it never ends until we can make people understand that you shouldn't have wild animals as pets. That's going to take a long time.
At least we know these animals will soon be leading much better lives, just like the other animals we've rescued. For our macaque that was handed in at the fish market, busy streets have been replaced by the sounds of the jungle. Life is also a whole new adventure for our baby gibbon. She's getting on really well with Jack. Gibbons mate for life, so this could be the start of a friendship that lasts 40 years. And as for Chum Chim, our gibbon with the broken leg, well, she's proof of how easy it is to make the life of a captive animal happier. For 20 years, she hardly sang. Now we can't stop her. It's time for me to say goodbye to our bears. Ompoom's still busy destroying the enclosure, but at least the exercise is helping him lose weight. And after all those years of being kept inside, Apec's really enjoying his time in the sun. It's great knowing our lifeline money has made such a huge difference.
This really is a much better life for Ompoom and Apec, but it would be even better if they could go back to the wild. And that's the next step, finding somewhere in Thailand that's suitable and safe for their release. Let's hope that can happen one day.